The authors of the Digital Circus continue to delight us with new photos. A new frame from the second episode has been published, which shows a new image of Gangle. In fact, throughout the first series of the circus, we saw her only in a sad appearance. Gangle was constantly sad and depressed. And then suddenly, Gooseworks Studio publishes a photo with Gangle in a comedy mask. We can also see Ragatha and Pomni. How much do you know about Gangle? For example, I am sure that she is seriously ill and needs psychological help. Her behavior shows that she constantly changes her mood from depressive to joyful and cheerful. Gangle has severe bipolar disorder. In people with this disorder, periods of good or bad mood, emotional upsurges, demonstrations of delight and joy, euphoria or irritability alternate with periods of decline and decrease in energy, depression. All this is described by Gangle. So after the Gangle comedy mask broke at the beginning of the pilot episode due to Pomni, she was depressed for the rest of the episode. And also let's take a look at the Gangle room inside. This is a merged frame of the Gangle room. It looks very gloomy, with gray walls and old Gangle masks all around. We can see dozens of broken comedy masks. This confirms the fact that Gangle regularly changes his lifestyle and often falls into depression. By the way, it's worth noting that she has masks with a very big and wide smile hanging on her walls. That smile on the broken masks even scares me a little. But in the new version, in the merged frame of the second episode, Gangle has a very sweet smile on his mask. In the new comedy mask, Gangle looks as happy as possible, and I am very happy about it. If we go back and look at the Gangle room in more detail, then we can only see an ordinary sink and toilet. This confirms the fact that the rooms of the characters are made to fit their character. Unfortunately, Gangle's room looks as sad as possible. What if it happens that when Gangle wears a comedy mask, her room is transformed and becomes bright colors? This is quite possible in a digital circus, and I would be very interested to see it. But in the new series, the characters will have an adventure in Candy Kingdom Canyon. This is a location where everything around is made of something sweet. For example, chocolate, marmalade, and similar delicious things. The characters will go there in the second episode to complete a new adventure from Kane. All the characters will go there except Zubli, which we'll talk about later. They write on the internet that allegedly Gangle also did not go to Candy Kingdom Canyon, but this is not so, because when we were shown a cart in the trailer of the second episode in which all the characters are riding, you can see red ropes there, just like Gangle. This is her, but Zubli is not there. In the last video, I told you about how Candy Kingdom Canyon will be arranged. I also want to assume that in the new episode, all the characters who will go to a new location will undergo all sorts of tests from Kane, and they will do this in order to get the main prize. According to my theory, it will be like this. If a character completes all the missions in Candy Kingdom Canyon, then in the process he becomes happier and more joyful and eventually returns to the circus tent as a cheerful and happy person. This is what happened with Gangle. I hope that this will be the case with the rest of the characters, because it's not easy for all of them there. Each character has some kind of psychological illness that develops and becomes stronger when they are in the circus. In fact, the publication of this photo from Gooseworks brings us even closer to the release of the second episode of the amazing Digital Circus. After all, every week we can notice more and more content about the second episode. Every week more and more photos from the new series merge. Gooseworks captioned this photo. "Look out, Pomni, she's right behind you." There is a Gangle behind the Pomni. Look at Pomni's face. She reacted strangely to Gangle. Pomni has turned to Ragatha and is experiencing a misunderstanding. I believe very strongly in the fact that every character has their own mental illness. For example, remember the character, as well as the state of Pomni. She is not a tactile girl who tries to be like everyone else. She is afraid to show her real self, to say something superfluous. In general, she is a self-contained person. Personally, after this description, I imagine an ordinary office worker in the real world. By the way, have you noticed how much Pomni dislikes tactile touches? According to some guesses, something terrible could happen to her in reality. She may even have been abused. Let's move on to the next characters for now. For example, Jax. It is possible that he was a victim of bullying at school, and after he graduated from school, he began to take it out on others, because since childhood he remembered that people are not the most pleasant creatures. If you add to this his possible dysfunctional family, then a rather sad result will come out. If that was the case, then the man from whom Jax emerged simply walked away from society having received a huge amount of psychological trauma. I don't know why, but after looking at him, I immediately have this thought. Imagine a guy about 18 years old who had a difficult life, who was laughed at school. It should be understood that the release of the second episode is very soon. At the very least, you should subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss the news and theories about the Digital Circus. And I also wanted to tell you that the authors of the circus will tell us the exact release date, namely the date and month about 2 weeks before the release of the second episode. After all, a similar situation can be seen with the TV series Murder Drones, which was recently released by the studio GlITCH. Due to the fact that GlITCH has 2 projects in the works, Killer Drones and an The Amazing Digital Circus, authors and artists have to distribute their forces into 2 projects at once. If the GlITCH studio had focused all its efforts on the Digital Circus in recent months, it would have already been released. But don't think so, because Murder Drones is also a great project. But now that the authors have completed work on Murder Drones, they are making a Digital Circus with maximum speed. When the creators of the Digital Circus drew a dense series, they spent a lot of effort. You can find out about this by looking at these frames, which show the creation of scenes. One person could spend a whole day and sometimes more on an excerpt in a couple of seconds. There are also many artists working in the GlITCH team who complement the final picture. Imagine how many days it took to draw and create the backgrounds. As we know, the territory of the circus is huge. A lot of work went to not only artists but also 3D animators. They had to create models of each character, animate them for hours. The interim result was published by one of the creators of the project. You can see individual frames with model characters. Subscribe to my channel to find out all the facts about the Digital Circus. Bye.